Hi there, it's Karen at Corrie Papercrafts here, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in central Scotland. Welcome back to another project, and today it is this one. It's a fold flat box and it measures 2¼ inches cubed, so it doesn't use a lot of products, and I've made this using our existing in colours, which are the 2019 to 21 in colours, and this is Seaside Spray, this box here. And the designer series paper I've used is one that I've not really used very much, I'll be honest, and that is the Woven Threads DSP, which is lovely. It's retiring, and I think, if I remember rightly, it's currently on sale just now as well. So I'm not sure if it's still in stock because I've not checked, but the last time I did look, it was still in stock. And the sentiment on the front is stamped from our fundraising PDF, which is raising funds for organisations that are doing a lot of work and research into COVID-19, because we've still got our global epidemic at the moment. So just very quickly to let you see some of the pages in this PDF, and a lot of them I've actually cut up already, so thank you Hero. These are the ones that I'm going to use. Other Hero ones here, or key worker ones, lots of different sentiments. It is available online to buy. It is $12 American dollars, I think, to buy, and it works out at £9.60 or £9.70 in British pounds. So I will pop a link to that below this video, but I used my heart punches, which are carrying on from the existing Spring Summer mini catalogue into the new annual catalogue, which launches next week. We're now in our last week of the existing annual catalogue, so it's getting quite exciting. So the in colours, as I say, are carrying on. The designer series paper isn't. The ribbon is my Seaside Spray ribbon to match my cardstock, so it is carrying on. And the fundraising PDF, I'm not sure how long that's going to be available for, but certainly still available just now. So I'm going to show you how I made it, and this time I'm going to use a different colour, but sticking with the Woven Threads designer series paper. So first of all, you're going to need a piece of cardstock which measures 9½ inches by 7¾ and the scoring we're going to do on the long side is going to be at 2 and let me think now, 2¼ I had to think there, 4½, 6¾ and 9. And then on the short side I'm going to score at ½ inch, 2 3/4, 5 and 7¼ So that gives us ½ inch at each side here. So get rid of the scoreboard, and I'm just going to fold and burnish on all my score lines. Just taking care with that ½ inch score line as well, and then we've got our ½ inch score lines here too. Oops. And then last one, again another ½ inch score line here. So I want to keep this ½ inch score line to my left and these ½ inch parts top and bottom, and it's not particularly complicated to do the cutting that we're going to do, but I'm going to do it in stages, and I've got my template here just to keep me right, so that we just cut one section at a time. So I'm going to start off with all of these sections along the middle here. We're going to keep all of those, and we're keeping all of those sections up and down this side, but we're going to get rid of various bits and pieces in between. So the only part in this 1/2 inch section here that we're going to keep is this middle part here. The rest we're going to get rid of completely. So I'm going to start by cutting up this side here, and I'm going to remove the score line as I go, or most of it, and cut at an angle there. So I've removed that first part, as you can see, and then I'm just going to do the same on this side here. So I'm going to turn it round. I'm going to cut down here, removing that score line as I go to there, and then just cut at an angle here. And that's all that we're keeping from that section there. And in these two sections here, the whole box is a mirror image either side. So these sections here, these parts and these parts are actually going to be the shoulders, the flaps that tuck inside the box. So I'm going to cut down to here and up to here, and then I'm going to remove half of each of those squares and keep half. Okay. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat today. So I'm just going to cut down this score line here, and then I'm going to remove, I'm going to get my big scissors actually, I'm going to remove about half of that and try and cut it straight, because I never manage, and I still haven't managed. That is really squint. I cannot cut straight with big scissors. I just can't do it. So I'm going to wedge either side of that, and I think I'll try and even that up just a little bit to straighten it up a bit. It's not desperately important. So that's what I've got here, and I'm just going to mirror that on this section here. So again, I'm going to cut down the middle of that score line to here. And then I'm going to try it with my snips this time. Remove half of that square here, and then wedge a little bit either side as well. So that's the next section completed. Okay. These two sections here I'm going to remove completely. So I'm going to do that now. So again, I'm going to cut down the middle of the score line to here, and then I'm just going to remove this part completely and remove the score line as I go, so that I've got a nice straight edge on the bit that remains, like that. I'm going to do exactly the same for this section here. So cut down the score line to there, and then I'm just going to remove that section completely and take the score line away too, as I say, so that I've got a nice straight edge on the box. Okay. So that's those two sections done. These two sections are going to be exactly the same as these. So I'm going to, now because these are the flaps that are going to close the lid top and bottom, I am actually going to remove these score lines as I cut these parts. So I'm going to keep the straight edge on the parts of the box that stay intact, which is this part here. And like before, I'm just going to remove half of that square and not cut it straight. And then wedge either side like we did before. I'm going to repeat it on this section here, so I'm just going to turn it round so that it's easier to do. Cut straight down the bit that I'm keeping, So I'm going to remove the score line as I go, and then just remove half of this square like so, and wedge and wedge, and resign myself to the fact that I just can't cut a straight line for toffee. Okay, so that's what we should be left with once we've done our cutting. I think I will just even this one up a little bit, but it really doesn't matter. These are just the flaps that are on the inside of the box, and whoever you're gifting it to, if anyone, is probably going to more want to see what's inside the box rather than how straight you've cut the edges. So that's just straightened it up a little bit, and that's all we need to do other than rounding the corners on each of these sections. So I'm just going to grab my trio punch and round these corners. Oops, and move my grid paper in the process, I see. So 2 corners here and 2 corners here, and that's all my corners rounded. And now what I need to do is add my designer series paper, and I'm going to add them to these 4 sections here, and top and bottom. You don't have to put a piece on the bottom of the box, but I think it just finishes it off nicely, and especially because the bottom flap can open as well, because you can store this box flat. So you're going to need 4 pieces of DSP, and they all measure 2 1/8 inch square. So I'm just going to add some liquid glue onto these and pop them onto my box. Now if you have a directional paper, you'll want to pay attention to how you stick those on, but this isn't directional, so can't pick it up though. I'm not too worried. I'm just going to go ahead and stick them on. The only thing I want to make sure is, if you can see these rough, they're not scores, but they're like brush strokes, I want to make sure that they're all facing in the same direction when I do stick these panels on. So that's the only thing that I want to pay attention to with this particular box. So again, just making sure that the brush strokes all go in the same direction. And there. I think it would be easier just to hold these to put the glue on them. She said I usually drop them or put glue on my hands. Again, just making sure that any brush strokes are going in the same direction before I stick it down. Next one. I just want to make sure I get glue into those corners to make sure that they stay stuck. And again, my brush strokes are all going in the same direction. Now this is the top flap of my box, and this is quite nice because it's got a central kind of focus. So I'm going to use this panel for the top of my box. Here. Bring that down a little bit, I think. Here we are. And last one. Pop this one on the bottom flap, and again I just want to make sure that those brush strokes are all going in the same direction. And there we are. Success without getting absolutely covered in glue as well, so I'm happy. And then all I want to do is add, oops, piece of tearing tape just along this section here next to that score line, and then I just need to join my box together and stop moving my grid paper around, so I'll just give that an extra press. Grab my take your pick tool, make sure I've got nothing overlapping, and just bring this straight over, and there we are. So the bottom of the box I'm just going to join together, and it should be a nice neat fit there. And then the last thing I want to do is just pop a finger notch in here, so I'm going to use my 1-inch punch, and that is retiring. So again, if you don't have it and you want it, then I would get it sooner rather than later. And I'm only taking a tiny piece out, just enough to add a thumb notch, because this, remember, is only 1/2 inch deep, so you don't want to have it so deep that you can see the bottom of that flap, and that's quite a neat fit there, and that's my box made. So all I need to do is tie my ribbon around it, and I've got my coordinating Rococo Rose ribbon. Now this is the scalloped linen ribbon, which is, as I say, in all 5 current in colours, which will be running for another year. And I'll just cut this little bit off because I've got a glue dot to hold it together, and we'll see if I can tie a square knot like I did. Oh, this is all, it's gone all funny. This one, see, it's needing an iron, but I'm hoping that it'll be okay for putting my box together, but it looks like it wants to keep curling, so we'll do the best we can. So I'll just cut a bit off and we'll sort the ends in a minute. And I'm just going to tie it in a double square knot. Oh no, that's not, that ribbon's not happy at all. It's got a bit misshapen. I'm not too happy with that, but we'll do the best we can to just finish putting our ribbon together. So I just want to make sure that this goes round. Now how did I do this again? I'm trying to pop a square knot in this, and I don't think I'm going to manage, and I don't know how I managed it before. So I think what I did was did that way and did that way, and then twisted it as I brought it through, I think. No, no, but I've got the ends the right way up, and that's all I'm interested in, and we'll just ignore this funny bit down the side just now. I'm needing to run the iron over it, I think. I'm not sure what's, it's like it's got all stretched. I'm not sure what's happened to that, but never mind. So I'm just going to cut at an angle here, and cut at an angle here. There we are. That could maybe be a little bit shorter actually, and maybe that one too. There we go. And that's my box made. Not quite such a successful bow, but there we are, it'll do for now. And then I just want to grab, it happens to be page 11 in, oh that's not paper scissors, oops, in the PDF, and I'm just going to cut out this thank you hero here, and I'm going to cut off a bit from the bottom so that it fits into my punch, and then I'm going to use my plain heart punch just to punch out this sentiment, like so. And using one of the sections that we already removed, I'll use that other one because I've got a cut there. I'm going to then use my scalloped heart punch, and it just fits. There we go. Just to back that on too, so the only waste that we've got is that part there when we've punched that out. So get all of these out of the way, and then I'm going to grab my glue, pop some liquid glue on the back of here, and stick that down onto my Rococo Rose scalloped heart here, just making sure that I line the tops up here and the points up down at the bottom. And I'll rub that bit of glue off after, and then I'm just going to grab my dimensionals. Oops. And put 1, 2, 3 on the back of here. Just pop that onto the front of my box, and it fits nicely, just touching the bottom of the DSP here, and it's just touching and no more the bottom of that finger notch that I cut there. And I think I can just use my adhesive eraser to get rid of that little bit of glue that was on there, and that's my box made. So apart from the ribbon, which I'm really not happy about at all, we'll just pretend that it's nice and straight like this one, to say thank you to a hero or a key worker, and pop whatever gifts you like inside. So thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed that, and until I see you next time, thanks for watching and take care. Bye bye for now.